The mining colony on Europa 7 was dying. Commander James stood on the bridge of the small outpost, watching the enemy ships circle like vultures. The Krex Empire had arrived 3 days ago with 20 warships. They wanted the rare minerals buried deep in the planet's crust. Send another distress signal, James ordered his communications officer, Lieutenant Smith. Sir, we've sent 50 already. No one is responding, Smith replied, his voice heavy with defeat. The colony had only 200 people, miners, scientists, and their families. No weapons. No defenses. Just a basic energy shield that was failing under constant bombardment. The Galactic Council had received their calls for help. James knew this because the automated system confirmed receipt. But the Council considered Europa 7 too far from their core worlds. Too unimportant. The mining colony belonged to humanity, and humans were new to space. They were seen as weak, primitive, not worth saving. Admiral Kron of the Krex fleet appeared on the main screen. His reptilian face showed what might have been a smile. Surrender, humans. You have 1 hour. After that, we take what we want anyway. We're civilians. James shouted. There are children here. Not my concern, Kron replied. Cutting the transmission dot in the depths of space, 300 light-years away. Admiral Robert Wilson sat in the command center of Earth's Defense Station Alpha. The wall of screens showed various data streams from human colonies across the galaxy. Sir, Captain Davis called out, we're picking up multiple distress signals from Europa 7. Wilson stood up immediately. Show me. The main screen displayed the situation. 20 Krex warships surrounding a defenseless mining colony. The distress calls had been going out for 72 hours. The timestamp showed the Galactic Council had received and ignored them all. The Council isn't responding? Wilson asked, though he already knew the answer. No, sir. They've classified it as a local dispute outside their jurisdiction. Wilson's jaw tightened. He remembered when Earth first joined the galactic community 10 years ago. The other species had laughed at humanity's small fleet. They called humans newcomers and primitives. They refused to share advanced technology. They ignored Earth's requests for fair trade agreements, but they didn't know what humans had been building in secret. Captain Davis, send a Priority 1 message to all fleet commanders. Operation Iron Shield is now active. Sir, that's our entire fleet. All 800 ships. Did I stutter, Captain? No, sir. Sending now. Across human space, shipyards that appeared empty suddenly came alive. Hidden beneath holographic covers and sensor-blocking fields, humanity's true fleet powered up. Not the 50-old ships the galaxy knew about. 800 vessels, built with reverse-engineered alien technology and human innovation. Captain Miller commanded the battleship Thunderstrike. His crew had been training in secret for 5 years. All stations, prepare for jump. We have civilians to protect. Engineer Johnson ran diagnostics on their weapon systems. Humans had studied every alien weapon they could find. Then they built better ones. The Krex had plasma cannons. Humans had developed focused antimatter beams. The Council races had shields. Humans had created adaptive armor that learned from each hit. On Europa 7, the colony's shield finally collapsed. Krex soldiers prepared to land. Parents held their children close. Jane stood with his people, refusing to show fear. Then space itself seemed to tear open. 800 human ships emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation. They surrounded the Krex fleet in seconds. The smallest human destroyer was twice the size of the largest Krex warship. Admiral Wilson's face appeared on every screen in the sector. His message was broadcast on all frequencies, ensuring the Galactic Council would hear it too. This is Admiral Wilson of the United Earth Fleet. Any attack on human civilians will be met with overwhelming force. Krex fleet, you have 30 seconds to retreat. Admiral Kron sputtered in disbelief. This is impossible. Humans have only 50 ships. 20 seconds, Wilson continued. His voice calm and cold. The Krex opened fire. It was the last mistake they would ever make. Asterisk. The Krex plasma bolts splashed harmlessly against the human ship's adaptive armor. The hull plating shimmered, analyzed the energy signature, and immediately adjusted its molecular structure to become immune to that specific weapon frequency. Admiral Wilson didn't even blink. All ships execute Protocol 7. What happened next would be remembered across the galaxy for generations. The human fleet moved as one organism. Each ship had an assigned target, predetermined by advanced tactical computers that had run millions of battle simulations. There was no confusion, no hesitation, no mercy. The Thunderstrike's antimatter beam carved through a Krex battleship like a hot knife through butter. The enemy vessel didn't explode. It simply ceased to exist, converted entirely into energy that lit up space like a small star. Captain Miller watched his tactical display. Target eliminated. Moving to secondary target. Across the battle zone, human ships unleashed weapons the galaxy had never seen. Gravitational torpedoes that created micro-black holes, tearing Krex ships apart from the inside. Quantum missiles that phased through shields as if they weren't there. Directed EMP bursts that didn't just disable electronics. They rewrote the enemy ship's computer codes, turning their own systems against them. Admiral Kron screamed orders from his flagship. All ships concentrate fire on their lead vessel. Break their formation. 50 plasma beams converged on the human dreadnought Retribution. The ship's armor glowed white-hot for a moment, then suddenly reflected all the energy back at the attackers, amplified tenfold. 5 Krex ships instantly vaporized from their own weapons. On Europa 7, the colonists watched in stunned silence. James couldn't believe what he was seeing. The same humans that the galaxy mocked as primitive were displaying technology that seemed almost magical. How? Lieutenant Smith whispered. How did we build all this without anyone knowing? James remembered the history lessons. After first contact, when humanity realized how hostile the galaxy truly was, Earth's governments had united in secret. They poured resources into hidden research stations. They studied every piece of alien technology they could acquire. And then they improved it. The battle, if it could even be called that, lasted exactly 3 minutes and 17 seconds. Of the 20 Krex warships, none remained intact. 15 were completely destroyed. 5 were disabled and drifting, their crews alive but helpless. Admiral Wilson had deliberately spared them. Krex survivors, Wilson broadcast. You will be taken into custody and returned to your homeworld with a message for your empire. Humanity protects its own. And from this day forward, we protect anyone who cannot protect themselves. The human fleet began rescue operations for the Krex survivors, treating wounded enemies with the same care they would show their own people. This confused the watching galaxy even more than the devastating weapons. Mercy from a position of absolute strength was something they rarely saw. 10 light-years away, the Galactic Council held an emergency session. The 12-member species sat in stunned silence, watching the battle footage for the 3rd time. Counselor Vex of the Altarian Republic spoke first. 800 ships. They hid 800 ships from our sensors. That's not possible, consisted Counselor Drac from the Centuri Alliance. Our intelligence networks would have detected construction on that scale. The oldest member, Counselor Tom from the Ancient Worlds, laughed bitterly. We ignored them, called them primitive, denied them technology transfers. And while we dismissed them, they surpassed us. Look at their weapons. Counselor Vex pointed at the tactical analysis. Antimatter beams with 98% energy efficiency. Our best weapons achieve 60%. Their shields adapt in real time. Their armor learns and evolves. Their coordination is perfect. And they came, Counselor Tom added quietly. A colony we all ignored, that we deemed unworthy of protection. The humans came with everything they had. On Earth, President Anderson addressed humanity from the Global Council chambers. The broadcast reached every human colony, ship, and station. Today, we showed the galaxy who we truly are, she said. Not conquerors, but protectors. Not aggressors, but defenders. We spent 10 years preparing for this moment. Not to start wars, but to end them. She paused, looking directly into the camera. To our fellow humans across the stars, you are never alone. No call for help will go unanswered. No colony is too small. No outpost too distant. This is our promise. And to the galaxy watching, humanity offers friendship to all peaceful species. But those who prey on the innocent will face the full might of our fleet. Within hours of the battle, every major news network in the galaxy was broadcasting the footage. The destruction of the Krex fleet played on repeat across thousands of worlds. But it wasn't just the military power that shocked viewers. It was what happened after. The human ships stayed at Europa 7, forming a protective barrier around the colony. Medical vessels arrived to treat the wounded Krex prisoners. Engineering teams began repairing the colony's damaged infrastructure. Supply ships brought food, medicine, and construction materials. Admiral Wilson personally visited the colony. He walked among the miners and their families, checking on their well-being. A small girl, no more than 7 years old, tugged on his uniform. "Thank you for saving us," she said simply. Wilson knelt down to her level. "That's what we do, little one. Humans look after each other." The interaction was caught on camera and broadcast across the galaxy. The feared admiral, who had just destroyed 20 warships in 3 minutes, was gentle with the child. It didn't compute for many alien species. On the Krex homeworld, Emperor Thorn watched the returning survivors being unloaded from human medical ships. His own soldiers, who had attacked civilians, were being returned healthier than when they left. Each one carried the same message from humanity. We choose mercy, but we are capable of much worse. His chief advisor, General Stone, stood beside him. "Emperor, they could have killed everyone. Why show mercy?" "Because they're sending a message," Thorn replied slowly. "They're showing the galaxy they have nothing to prove. Only the truly powerful can afford to be merciful." In the following days, something unprecedented began happening. Small colonies and outposts from various species, the ones too unimportant for the Galactic Council to protect, started sending messages to Earth, not to the Council, but directly to Earth, a mining station in the outer reaches, constantly raided by pirates, asked for help. An agricultural world threatened by slavers requested protection. A science outpost under siege by raiders sent an SOS dot, and humanity answered every single call. The fleet divided into task forces. Wherever innocent beings were threatened, human ships appeared. They didn't conquer. They didn't demand payment. They simply protected and left. Captain Miller led a squadron to defend a Felian colony from raiders. The Felians were a small, peaceful species that the Council considered economically insignificant. The raiders had been extorting them for years. "Unknown raiders," Miller broadcast as his ships dropped out of hyperspace. "You are threatening innocent civilians. You have one warning. Leave now." The raider commander laughed. "We've been doing this for decades, human. The Council doesn't care about these worthless cats." "We're not the Council," Miller replied. 30 seconds. The raiders, having seen what happened to the Krex, fled immediately. The Felian colony was free for the first time in 20 years. On the Council station, emergency sessions had been running continuously for a week. The established order was crumbling. Species they had ignored were now looking to humanity for protection, not to them. They're undermining our authority. Counselor Drac slammed his appendage on the table. What authority? Counselor Tom asked. The authority that let us ignore dozens of distress calls. The authority that deemed certain species unworthy of protection. We need to demand they stop, Counselor Vex suggested. Tell them they're disrupting galactic stability. Tom laughed. And if they refuse? Will you fight them? Did you not see what happened to the Krex? The human ambassador to the Council, David Park, had remained silent during these discussions. Finally, he stood to speak. Honored counselors, Park began calmly. Humanity isn't trying to replace the Council. We're filling the void you created. Every species deserves protection, not just the wealthy ones. Every life has value, not just the profitable ones. You're creating chaos. Drac accused. No, Park replied. We're creating hope. For the first time, the forgotten colonies know someone will answer when they call for help. That's not chaos. That's justice. He pulled up a holographic display showing dozens of worlds. These are all the colonies that have requested our protection in the last week. Colonies you've ignored for decades. We will protect them all. You don't have the resources. Vex protested. Park smiled. With respect, Counselor, a week ago you thought we had 50 ships. Perhaps you should reconsider what you think you know about humanity's resources. The Council fell silent. They were beginning to realize that humanity hadn't just built a fleet in secret. They had built an entire parallel infrastructure, hidden from the galaxy's view. 3 months after the Europa 7 incident, the galaxy had fundamentally changed. Human protection fleets patrolled the outer territories that the Council had abandoned. Pirates and slavers found their traditional hunting grounds had become death traps. Attack a defenseless colony, and human ships would appear within hours. But humanity didn't just bring warships. They brought something the galaxy hadn't expected: infrastructure and education. On planet Harvest, an agricultural world that had been barely surviving, human engineers arrived with advanced farming equipment. Not to take over, but to teach. They showed the local population how to triple their crop yields, how to purify their water, how to generate clean energy. Administrator Johnson oversaw the project. We're not here to make you dependent on us, he told the planetary leader, Elder Root. We're here to help you stand on your own. Why? Root asked, genuinely confused. What do you gain? Strong neighbors make everyone safer, Johnson replied. Besides, it's the right thing to do. This pattern repeated across dozens of worlds. Human teachers set up schools. Human doctors established clinics. Human engineers built communication. Arrays so isolated colonies could call for help faster. The Galactic Council watched their influence shrinking daily. An emergency vote was called to officially condemn humanity's aggressive expansion. But when the vote came, something unexpected happened. The smaller council members, the ones who had always been outvoted by the major powers, sided with humanity. For the first time in council history, the big three powers were outvoted. Counselor Tom stood to announce the results. The motion to condemn humanity fails, 7 votes to 5. Furthermore, this council officially recognizes humanity's right to provide protective services to any world that requests it. Counselor Drac stormed out of the chamber. The old order was dead. On Earth, President Anderson met with her military advisors. The holographic display showed the current deployment of human forces, spread across a quarter of the galaxy. We're stretched thin, admitted General Williams. 800 ships seemed like a lot, but the galaxy is vast. Then we build more, Anderson replied. The colonies we're protecting are already volunteering resources. They want to contribute. There's another issue. Admiral Wilson interjected. We've been getting requests from species who want to join our fleet, not for protection, but to help us protect others. This was unprecedented. The Felians, saved from decades of extortion, had volunteered their best pilots. The inhabitants of Harvest offered food supplies for human ships. Small species across the galaxy wanted to be part of what humanity was building. Accept them all, Anderson decided. Train them. Equip them. Make them part of the solution. Within weeks, the human fleet began to transform into something new. Multi-species crews working side by side. Former enemies serving together to protect the innocent. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. Captain Miller now commanded a mixed crew. His navigation officer was Felian. His weapons specialist was a reformed Krex warrior who had requested to join after witnessing human mercy. His medical team included beings from 6 different species. Captain, his Felian navigator, Officer Whisker, reported, "We're receiving a distress call. A refugee ship is under attack by slavers." "Set course," Miller ordered. "Maximum speed." When they arrived, the slavers were surprised to see aliens serving on a human ship. "Traitors." The slaver captain spat. "You serve these humans?" Officer Whisker responded proudly. "We serve justice. We serve hope. We serve those who answered when no one else would." The slavers surrendered without firing a shot. They knew what happened to those who fought the new protectors. Back on Europa 7, Commander James looked out at the thriving colony. What had been a dying mining outpost was now a bustling trade hub. Ships from dozens of species stopped there, knowing it was under human protection. Lieutenant Smith joined him at the observation window. "Remember when we thought it was the end?" "I remember thinking no one cared," James replied. "I've never been happier to be wrong." A new ship dropped out of hyperspace, a massive construction vessel. It bore the markings of the new alliance humanity was building. Not conquerors, not an empire, but a coalition of species united by a simple principle. The strong protect the weak. The ship's captain sent a message. "Europa 7, this is the United Fleet vessel Hope's Dawn. We're here to help you build your new defensive platforms. No colony under our protection will ever be defenseless again." 1 year had passed since humanity revealed its true strength. The galaxy looked nothing like it had before. The old power structures had crumbled, replaced by something unprecedented, a volunteer alliance of species united not by force or economics, but by shared values. The United Protection Fleet, as it came to be known, now numbered over 2,000 ships from 40 different species. Each had joined for the same reason. They believed in humanity's simple principle that the strong should protect the weak. Admiral Wilson stood on the bridge of humanity's newest flagship, the UPF Unity. His crew represented 15 different species. His second in command was Commander Sharp, a Krex warrior who had become one of humanity's fiercest allies after witnessing their mercy. "Admiral," Sharp reported, "we're receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council. They're requesting a formal meeting. After a year of silence, now they want to talk?" Wilson mused. "Very well. Set course for the council station." The council chamber was packed when Wilson arrived with his multi-species delegation. For the first time, representatives from the minor species filled the observation galleries. They were no longer voiceless. Counselor Tom, now the senior member after several resignations, stood to address the assembly. "Admiral Wilson, the Council has voted to formally recognize the United Protection Fleet as a legitimate peacekeeping force. Furthermore, we wish to propose a partnership." Wilson stood slowly. "A partnership? A year ago, you ignored our colonists' calls for help. You told us humanity was too primitive, too insignificant. What's changed?" "We have," Tom admitted, surprising everyone with his honesty. "You've shown us our failures." While we played politics and counted profits, people suffered. You acted while we debated. Counselor Vex added reluctantly. Piracy is down 90%. Slave trading has almost disappeared. Colony raids are virtually extinct. You've accomplished more in 1 year than we did in a century. We didn't do it alone. Wilson gestured to his diverse delegation. Every species here contributed. The Felians provided navigation expertise. The reformed Kreks brought warrior traditions. The farmers of Harvest fed our fleets. Even the smallest colony offered what they could. A new voice spoke from the gallery. It was Elder Root from Planet Harvest. May I address the council? Tom nodded, breaking protocol. Root stood proud despite his small stature. For 50 years, my people barely survived. The council said we weren't worth protecting because we had nothing to offer. Humanity proved them wrong. They showed us we had value beyond economics. Now Harvest feeds a dozen worlds. We're not beggars anymore. We're contributors. More voices rose from the galleries. Stories of rescue, of hope, of transformation. The council members sat in uncomfortable silence, faced with the reality of their past failures. Finally, Counselor Drac, who had been humanity's fiercest opponent, stood. I was wrong, he said simply. I thought power meant control. You've shown us it means responsibility. The Century Alliance formally requests membership in the United Protection Fleet. This was the moment everything changed. One of the galaxy's superpowers was asking to join humanity's alliance as an equal member, not a leader. Wilson looked at his delegation. They nodded as one. Every member has equal voice, Wilson stated. Every ship responds to distress calls. Every species contributes what they can. No one is turned away for being too small or too poor. Accept these terms, and you're welcome. Drac nodded. We accept. Within hours, the news spread across the galaxy. The old Galactic Council effectively dissolved, replaced by the United Protection Alliance. Not ruled by the powerful, but governed by principles of mutual protection and support. On Earth. President Anderson addressed humanity one final time before stepping down. Her term complete. We started as the newcomers, the primitives, the ignored. Today, we stand at the center of the greatest alliance in galactic history. Not through conquest, but through compassion. Not through force, but through sacrifice. We answered a distress call when no one else would. That single act of courage changed everything. It proved that humanity's greatest strength wasn't our hidden fleet or our advanced weapons. It was our simple belief that every life matters. The galaxy once asked what humans could contribute. Now they know. We contributed hope. In the depths of space, the UPF Unity patrolled with its multi-species crew. On the communications array, distress frequencies remained silent. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy's vulnerable felt safe. Officer Whisker turned to Admiral Wilson. Sir, what happens when there are no more distress calls? Wilson smiled. Then we've succeeded. But until that day, we keep watching. We keep protecting. We keep proving that no one stands alone. The stars continued their eternal dance. But now they watched over a united galaxy where the strong protected the weak. Where humanity's greatest victory wasn't conquest, it was teaching the galaxy to care. The end. Asterisk.